Hey everyone, Kemetic Monk here. This is just a warning for the beginning of the video. I'm gonna apologize in advance for something. You're gonna hear a lot of lip smacking. I really recommend turning down the volume in some way because the lip smacking, it might be aggravating to some people. And I didn't know that my mouth was that close to the mic. I'm using a new software, but the software is, for some reason, just kind of having a different audio style or quality than my other software was, so I might work some things out, but I kind of just wanted to make a little bit of a warning to some people who are easily triggered by that. You're gonna have the mind of really bad lip smacking that you're gonna hear. It aggravated me, and I'm not even into that. I'm not even like aggravated by that, so just a bit of Hello everybody, welcome back to the Kemetic Monk YouTube channel. For those who don't know me, I am the Kemetic Monk. I am a monk from my lord Anubis. I also work with other gods such as Seth and Isis, and I'm currently working with both the Morgan and Lucifer. If you want more in-depth videos on me, you can check them out in the description, or you can check out my YouTube videos where I go more in-depth about me and who I am. But other than that, I am really just here to share my interpretation. I do hope that everybody is having a lovely day. It's currently sunny outside over here. Well, it's actually, by the time I was recording this, it was around nighttime, but it's currently sunny here, and wherever you guys are, I hope you all have a very lovely day today. But without further ado and enough rambling, let's get on into the topic. Why can't you see your god's face? Or for those who work with Anubis, why can't you see Anubis's face? So if you work with a god for an extended period of time, this question might have arose to you, because the more you work with your god, the more they kind of slowly start to reveal themselves to you. And when I first started working with Anubis back in 2021, which, wow, it's been 2 years, I was always curious why he was never wanting to show his face to me. I would always ask, I'd be like, hey, don't be afraid to show me your face, or why do you keep hiding your face from me? And I kept asking him. I said, hey, show me your face, show me who you are, I want to. And down the line, couple months after my god spouse series, was around March of 2021, which still cannot believe it's been about a year since I've been god spouse to him. Down the line, he revealed to me what he looked like. And the event was really weird because it's like, even to this day, really hard for me to explain. To recall my event, I was sleeping, and I was kind of in this lucid dreaming state. I woke up and was trying to get up, but for some reason I felt pulled back into sleep. And as I was pulled back into sleep, I started to see an outline of an eye. And I could always see, for reference or for context, I could always see Anubis's face. I could see his physique, or not his face, I could see what his head looked like. But I could never see his eyes, and more importantly, I could never see anything other than that. It was just the outline of his face, and then his body and his physique. So I was always like curious what his eyes looked like, and I start seeing this outline of an eye being formed in my head, and it was like forming itself from just light itself. It was gold. Like, if you ever see the gold on Art of Anubis, that's what it was like forming, but it was like a pure light kind of gold that was forming the eye. And but it was a little bit more, the eye started forming into a face and a head, and eventually it formed into Anubis. It was Anubis's face. And I barely remember what I saw. But it's like one of those weird feelings where you know what you saw, but you can't understand what you looked at. And the only way I can really describe it was terrifying. And I felt bad because I did jump when I saw Anubis's face. And I felt like I might have offended him. And I was like, no, I thought your face was fine. I'm being all insecure. And I don't think Anubis had any hard feelings. He knew what he was doing. But to describe what I saw, it was a jackal head but it was the eyes. And I've seen Anubis on a handful of occasions with his face, and they've always been very different. But it was the eyes that specifically stuck out. Just big, bulging eyes that stared. And he looked angry. But I know he wasn't angry. In the very beginning, when I just saw the eye, it was like a feminine eye. I felt very feminine energy from it, and then it formed into something more masculine and dominant, which terrified me. And I didn't know what to think. I couldn't comprehend it. And my mind tried to make it into something I could comprehend. But it still didn't erase the feeling of fear and terror that would be distilled in me when I did see it. And after that, I just woke up, and I felt like, to describe it, I felt like I looked death in the face. And ever since then, I would go and I'd hear other people's accounts, because at this time I was willing to work hospice. And I would go and I'd hear accounts from people who work hospice, and people report seeing a black dog sitting in the corner of a room staring at them. And that stare I felt when I saw Anubis's face, the first thing when I heard that account was, that's Anubis. And I'll get on to a little bit more about that, because I have a whole long interpretation of Anubis from my experience of who he actually is as a god and what he embodies, because I can guarantee you it is not what New Kingdom Egypt was telling you. I don't trust New Kingdom Egypt's text. We have a lot of reason to believe they were altering text to fit ideologies, especially since some of the other political issues, like the concept of going to the afterlife being tied to material wealth. I will probably touch just something on Newer King Egypt's problems in another video, but I don't want to get too much into depth into that. But for short, that's exactly why I started viewing Anubis as an embodiment of death, because of the accounts and all of the fear that I felt when I saw him. But this was not the first time I had seen Anubis's face. The second time I had seen Anubis's face, well, I haven't seen his face on a lot, but I've seen him on a handful of occasions in dreams. And I have my own interpretations about seeing gods to an extent, because a lot of what I've studied and kind of experienced, I've started getting different, or interpreting things differently than what is normally perceived by pagans. But the second time I had seen Anubis's face, it was a lot more natural. And it was actually in the beginning of December of this year. I was scared to go to sleep. And because I was scared, Anubis was watching over me in a dream. But he wasn't like he normally is, where he appears in his kind of more anthropomorphic jackal man. This time he was an actual dog. But I was terrified of this dog, and I kept trying to get away from this dog. And I felt kind of bad after I woke up, because I'm like, oh, this was Anubis trying to protect me, and I kept trying to run away from him. And I kept trying to get away from this dog, but it was always following me. And I got in this car with some people, and they stopped the car, and this dog just jumped through the window, because it was for some reason open, and got right behind me. And I'm just sitting in this car, and I'm like, I was terrified. I'm like, this dog is going to attack me. I'm going to die. I was terrified. And I looked at the dog's face, and I instantly turned away, because when I had looked at the dog's face, I felt scared for my life, because it had human eyes. And eventually I woke up, just kind of woke up abruptly, but I didn't feel scared when I woke up. And I remember the first thing I said was, oh, that was Anubis, because the eyes gave it away, and how Anubis's face normally looks, and the feeling of terror that is normally distilled in you whenever you are encountering Anubis in more of a true form that you might feel. Now, I would keep talking all this, terror, Anubis is scary. Some of you guys might think that Anubis could be more, at this point, associated with something more evil because he's scary. Well, again, like I've said, he's an embodiment of death. Death is terrifying to everybody to an extent. I don't think anyone fully accepts death as much as they want to believe. I mean, there probably are a few people who have to due to circumstances, and to me, that's kind of a big reason why Anubis is as scary as he is because death is a very intimidating thing to everybody. But all these encounters with Anubis all of these encounters have never been like a hostile encounter with him. He's never attacked me. He's never tried hurting me in a dream. He's always been real gentle, even when revealing himself. He's never been a harsh deity, I want to say. But I do want to say that I have had I've had a handful, but one encounter with Anubis I can recall very specifically. And at the beginning of December. For those who are on my YouTube channel know I was suffering really bad from a sinus infection, and I was feeling just icky. I thought it was an ear infection, but it turns out it was a bad sinus infection, and I was feeling just icky. And I went to bed one night basically feeling like crap, and I remember I was dreaming about being on a boat, and I walked into this room, and there was Anubis sitting in the room, and he opened his arms, and he didn't really open his arms. I walked in, I saw Anubis, I walked over to him. He didn't call me to him or anything. I walked over to him, and he just kind of pulled me into him and kind of held me through the night. Because he knew I wasn't feeling good, and he was kind of coming there to comfort me in that situation, because at the time I was just feeling disgusting. And I felt very, very relaxed and comforted, and I kind of felt like he didn't want me to go, because if you guys work with Anubis, you know he's very affectionate with his people, especially those who worship him or are more devoted to him. I don't want to just say worship, more devoted. I mean, he loves everybody very equally, but you know, I don't even want to say play favorites. He's more, it's kind of applies to any god. If you're more devoted to a god, they're going to show more favoritism towards you to an extent, but Anubis is really different because I don't really think he has favorites even in his own devotees. I mean, he's an embodiment of death. I don't think death plays favorites on anybody, but that was an encounter where Anubis was not hostile or was not aggressive to an extent. So I kind of wanted to throw that out there, that all these encounters with Anubis have not always been where I feel fear. Like that dream I just told you about, I felt very relaxed and comforted. Now this is my encounters. I know this is probably like a lengthy ass encounter. People are like, okay, what about my god? I work with Sophia, the Morgan, Hel, Thor, Odin. I still don't see their faces. Why can't I see their faces? Well, there's a good answer to that question. For the similar reasons of my stories, like I tell you in these, I don't see Anubis's face, and when I did, I felt very terrified, and I barely can even remember what he actually looked like. Why don't you see your god's face? For the same reason I can't see mine. You can't comprehend it. They are very, very above us in many ways, shapes, or form. Their reasoning, their existence is mostly tied to us, but at the same time, they are above us in every way, shape, or form. They're out of our line of comprehension. And essentially, sorry about that. And essentially, when it comes to other gods, such as, I can't really speak for both Zeus or Odin or other deities, because to an extent I've only worked with Anubis, and all the deities I have seen have been seen more of their true forms was Hel and the Morgan, or have all been embodiments of death. I have seen Seth in dreams before. Seth is not afraid to show himself, like his whole body, but I have never seen Seth's face before. I have seen Seth in dreams way more than I have ever seen Anubis, because Anubis doesn't even like to show his whole body in dreams. Seth doesn't care. Seth will show up and he'll be like, hey, yo, what's up, bitch? It's me, Seth. Anubis is not like that. But I'll talk a bit more about Seth in another video, because there's a lot to Seth. That all being said, you can't see your God's face because you cannot comprehend what they look like. And when you do see them, you are going to feel a rush of things that you can't understand. Like I said, I seen Anubis, I felt death. Like the death was distilled in me, the fear of dying rushed to me. When I saw Hell and the Morgan were really weird because with them I couldn't stop crying, but they're feminine aspects of death, and Hell is kind of both, but they're feminine aspects of death. So like the more feminine side of death is sadness, and I couldn't stop crying. But I couldn't speak for people who have seen Zeus or Odin or Thor. There might be other emotions that get riled up. If you see Thor, you might be more angry or more energetic because Thor was a god of war, god/goddess of war. You see Loki's true form, you might want to commit chaos, even though Loki's origins in Norse has been very mixed in Old and Mid Norse. But depending what your god is an aspect of, you are likely going to feel very amplified whenever you see their true form. But again, I can't speak for other deities and what you'll feel. That's something that you yourself have to experience. You have to experience your god in whatever way you are going to experience them. And I can't, like I said, I can't show you what your god's going to show to you, but I can only tell you from my experience. And I said I saw Anubis's face, this is what I felt. And I can still tell you, I don't remember what Anubis's face actually looked like. I only vaguely remember aspects of it, and my brain tried to rationalize it in the best way that it could, but it can't. Your brain cannot comprehend their true form. Even if they show it to you, you're not going to be able to understand it. And that is also said for, you're going to feel, when you see their true form, you will feel more things. You'll feel more power and energy than you will see. Now, I want to end this video off on a different note, because I don't like to complain as much, but I feel like this is necessary for this topic, because I was once in your shoes, whoever may be watching this, whoever might be on the same journey that I was on when you were introduced to a god or a deity and you're wanting to know all these questions that you have. And you're going to hear from these accounts from pagans and witches that give you over-the-top exaggerations of what actually happened. A lot of people think, because I'm even asked this in my comment sections a lot of people think that when somebody says that they see their gods in their dreams, that they're literally witnessing their god exist in front of them, or in some way, shape, or form. No. I don't like to put a lot of discreditment towards witches and pagans, but there is a big issue with this. These people are not seeing their gods physically in their dreams. They are not seeing their true forms, because no one can comprehend their true forms. If a witch or a pagan ever tells you that they can, that witch or pagan is likely not actually experiencing their gods or seeing their gods. There is a difference between experience and seeing. Experience is feeling some type of emotion or energy that is tied to that god. If you experience Anubis in a dream, you might be feeling very comforted or very terrified that you're going to die. If you're experiencing Seth in a dream, you might feel very chaotic in some way, shape, or aspect, or some way, shape, or form. But if you're seeing your god in a dream, you are seeing them in their physical form, or in some form that you can witness them in. And those are really rare encounters. I'm sorry to all the pagans and witches here, your god will not visit you that frequently. If you think they are, if you think they're visiting you every night, because even as somebody who's god spoused with Anubis and loves this god, I literally, if you watch my live streams, I literally bicker with this god all the time. And my god spousery is a little awkward, but I love Anubis, but that doesn't mean Anubis is in my room cuddling me to bed every night. In fact, it's pretty rare for him to ever do that. It'd be great if he would do it more often, but I understand he's busy. But these people are not witnessing their gods every single night. A lot of what modern paganism is doing is exaggerating these things, and they're kind of making up their own kind of encounters or experience. Like, they'll dream about Loki. They'll be like, oh my gosh, Loki visited me in a dream last night. No, honey. Sometimes you have to be able to differentiate when you're actually dreaming about your god and when your god's actually visiting you. I'll do a whole video on it because I was in that boat once too. So for whoever's watching this and wondering why your god may not be showing up in your dreams or may not be visiting you frequently, or you may not be able to fully see them or comprehend them, these paganism, this is not how gods work. They don't just decide to visit you in a dream and decide to cuddle you. They don't do all these unrealistic things that you would not think of a god doing. It's just a pagan myth almost that gods do this, and this is not what the gods do. Modern paganism has shifted very differently to what it is originally, and it's really a topic for concern, but we'll talk a bit more about that in another video. But yes, I just want to clear that up. You're not going to see your god every night in your dream. You might not even see your god in many dreams. They'll come to you if they need to speak to you. They'll come to you if they need to comfort you or they need to help you. If you're in a nightmare or in a bad dream, they'll come and show up. But they're not going to do what all these other pagans are describing that their gods do. I really question the authenticity of some of these accounts. But with all that being said, I will be doing some videos on those in the future. If you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, you can go on ahead and leave a subscribe. I'll be doing a whole bunch more content here in the future. Leave a like and comment if you've ever seen your god in a dream, because I'd really love to hear your guys' encounters with types of this kind of thing. If you did see your god in the true form, what god was it and what did you feel? And if you also want to see more content, you can go follow me on TikTok at Kemetic Monk if you're really interested. And yeah, I'll see you guys all in the next video.